Hi guys, welcome to today's video. Sorry it's a little bit later launching than usual. I've literally just got back from the camera show in London, talking to Canon and a few other brands and seeing what's going on in the world of photography from the front line. And I still wanted to get this video out to you because there's been a lot of news on last week and I didn't want to progress it over to next week and then have a really long, like 20-minute long news video. So it's all in here now. Let's get into that first news story right now. Okay, so this is a patent heavy video, so what I'm going to do is get some of the way now and some at the end of the video, but this is the first set of patents that have come out in the last week. So we've got a 22mm f8 and a 26mm f8 pancake lenses. Not lenses I've ever used before. I have been quite keen to at some point maybe play with a pancake lens and see what it's like. It just always having 1Ds, I kind of image looking at the physical look of a pancake lens on a 1D always made me laugh. I couldn't bring myself to do it, but these are looking to come out very, very soon. If they do them, they've kind of released a patent, say last week. But yeah, two lenses, not a great aperture compared to some pancake lenses I've seen before, but it'd be interesting to see what Canon do and if they decide to bring those out to market. The next story today is Canon have released, so I guess it's in the form of some form of software update, with the R5 can now shoot 3D images with a standard lens. So what I mean by standard lens is just a normal lens off the shelf and not one of these dual fisheye lenses that you used to have to use. Basically, in the app, you can use a standard lens, and what it does by reading through here is it uses the dual pixel sensor to basically create a secondary image almost by the sounds of it, and save it under a CR3 file still, but with the application it basically can make a 3D image using DP RAW, so it stops you having to then buy these really expensive lenses. Like if we come down here, I think they've got the prices here, so the L lens is $1,500 to $2,000. They do cheaper versions now in the sort of RFS crop sensor bodies now as well. But it's good to see they're kind of utilising the cameras and the details within the cameras to make them more useful without people having to buy really expensive aftermarket stuff to use it. It's a very, very niche thing to do, but there are people who are using this, and or else they wouldn't be selling any of these lenses. So there's obviously people out there who do want it, and it's interesting that they're trying to come out with new ways for this to utilise out of, let's say, the older cameras. This is the Mark 1 that they're talking about, not even the Mark 2. So they're still investing time, which is crazy, in the older cameras, which is crazy, but also really good to see from people who are still using those cameras that Canon are actually continuing to improve upon them, even though they're not the current kit. Now the next one here is a great story here because it's actually combines two of the stories I've found over time. It seems like a ever evolving story, but Canon are potentially going to be updating the RF400 and the RF600, which does to me make sense because these are basically just EF lenses with a RF mount glued on the back. So they are actually getting on, even though they were only released sort of 3-4 years ago, they are actually getting on. As it says here, like the EF versions were released in 2018, so these are now 7-year-old lenses technically. They just have an RF mount glued on the back. The main thing that makes this interesting is what's being seen here, which is this part with Telephoto. So we'll flick to the next screen here. So there are some patents that have been launched for a few of the lenses which have built-in teleconverters. So like my 200 to 400 with a 1.4, they're potentially going to do what Nikon have done and make these prime lenses, but then add a 1.4 converter. So Nikon already do a 200mm, a 400mm 2.8 with a converter, and I believe a 600mm f4 with a built-in converter. I think they're potentially going to go this route, which is a very interesting way of doing it. You do get more out of your camera, more money there. So if you see here, this image is moving, so you'll see without the converter, with the converter. So you can see it just in that middle part there, changing between the two, and it gives you all the focal length distances as well. It changes to the f number stop as well, so you go to f4. Like this as a lens, this would be something that would appeal to me for what I'm currently doing with the kingfishers and stuff. 400mm, you get that really nice sharp imagery from the 400mm 2.8, and then if you want to be a bit closer, without having to crop the bird and everything like that, you can flick over, and then you'd have your 544mm. But yeah, f4. The other lens they're looking at is the 600mm, and they're going to do the f4 as well. With the converter, again, is the image without the extension, and then with the extension in there as well. Now, it'll take you over to 800mm at f5, almost f6, which is still very usable. This will be holdable as well, I'd assume. It doesn't give you the weight here, no, but this will be handheld, and I can very much believe this one will come to market at some point. This one here, I don't believe will come at all, if I'm honest. You've got the 100 to 300 f2.8, which I have literally just used for the first time coming back from the camera show, and is an absolutely amazing piece of kit. By far, it's the fastest focusing lens I've used to date, and made my R3 feel more why I potentially need to get some RF glass for that to make that work properly. Just so much quicker than my 2.8 300mm prime EF lens. So, but this would only take you to 400mm, 420mm. I just don't see many people even wanting this. You could do a 1.4 converter on the 100 to 300 to be in the same situation, but then have a zoom as well. That's a much more practical thing. This thing is why that Canon haven't actually released a 300mm prime yet for their range. I don't think they will. I just don't think it's, even though it's a very popular lens now, that's because it's cheap in the EF mount. It's not going to be cheap. It's going to be with a converter built into it. I would hazard a guess this would be a £12,000 lens if it came to fruition, which just is pushing it outside the realms of most people. Most people are going to have that 400mm if they want the fast lens, 100 to 300 if they want a bit of versatility with 2.8, and then you got the 600. You know, the 400 and the 600 are the ones that I can imagine definitely happening. I think it even talks about in that original article. I think it's, if you scroll down a little bit, it shows off what Nikon's. This is the 400 2.8, which my friend tried out at the camera show because she has Nikons, and is incredibly light for the size of it. So you're looking at not a lot at all. Doesn't have it here, but it's very easily handholdable, and you've got a very nice lens. So if Canon make one of these, this would be a really, really good option, I think. And the same with the 600mm. I think, why not put a converter in it and make it a really, really nice, usable, all-round sharp lens. So yeah, that's those three paintings that have come out, and this is why that talk's coming out now about them replacing those two lenses, which I can definitely see them replacing them at some point soon. It just depends on what they're going to replace them with. Next news article here has been a very busy week in the world of Canon. This is the roundup of what we're expecting to see from Canon this year. So we scroll down here. This is a given. 100% it's going to come at some point. Potentially in the next few months we'd see this. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like and what the improvements are over the Mark II. This one here is a bit more of a we don't really know. It'd be nice if it did come out. Again, this is another one that they were considering. Will they put a converter on there? But if you're going to 500mm anyway, I don't think it's really worth it. It's not the only reason you do it if you did a direct RF 200 to 400 f4 and then put an adapter on it. If you're going to be able to run 200 to 500 at f4, it's no point. You're saving 40mm, and you're probably going to make a nice lighter lens out of it with less elements and stuff you need to worry about getting covered in dust and stuff. So if it does come out, it'd be great. I don't think it's going to have a converter on it though, but we shall see. We're going to have a new 24 to 70 f2 coming soon. it will be interesting if that comes out. I've not used one of these f2s, but they do look like they give incredible image quality for people who do use that shorter side lens. To be able to shoot wide open at f2 gives you great definition and separation whenever you're taking photos. We've also got the tilt shift lenses. These are definitely going to come out. The paintings we've seen already come out on these, so that's going to be interesting to see what they look like. Again, not a lens I've ever used, but something I'd love to learn how to use, because I do understand how important these lenses are for certain types of photography. You got the R50V, which is going to be the video version of the R50, which I can definitely again see that one coming at some point soon. And then Canon APS-C lineup. I think we're going to see an R7 Mark II this year. When we're going to see that, I do not know. I think it's probably going to be towards the end of the year if we've got the R6 Mark III coming out, or they could do a surprise. Done it before, they surprised us with something, but it could be amazing if they launch at the same time as the R6 Mark III. But personally, don't really see that coming. I think we're going to see that at the end of this year announced, and then we'll go from there. And then a retro camera, so like an A1 retro digital camera that a lot of other brands have kind of come onto, mainly Nikon. They've got a few retro looking cameras now that have all the technology inside of them of some of their higher end cameras. So be interesting to see what happens if they do something like this. It'll be definitely a weird one. So they're saying here the 50th anniversary of the A1 is next year, so maybe an announcement end of the year, which makes sense if they're going to do that. I personally, it's not something I would really want to have. I don't do enough sort of street photography, or I don't really care what my camera looks like in the sense of fashionable. I prefer it being practical and fit in my hands and everything like that. But we will see if that comes out. If not, go out and buy an A1 and shoot some film and do something a bit different, I guess. I'd love to do some videos at some point where I'm shooting film again and going through that process, because it's been almost 18 years since I last shot film. So yeah, we'll see if that happens at some point. But yeah, that's the lineup of what we're hoping to see or be announced this year. So that's all the news, quite a lot of news I completely understand from last week about Canon. I do have one extra bit of news that is from Sigma, ironically. I spoke to them at the show about the 300 to 600, and if they thought, or when they thought, that lens would come out an RF mount. The answer I got was, it's never going to come out an RF mount, and I was told that if I wanted to get it, I would need to buy a Sony camera and have that just as a Sony setup, and then continue using my Canon stuff separately, or to get rid of my Canon stuff to use it. And unfortunately, no matter how good that lens looks, I'm not going to get rid of my equipment for what I would foresee as a step down in performance with my R3. I'm not going to go and change that for a Sony, no matter what lens you've got. So we'll be looking at other options on there. There are some things from the show that I was talking to Canon with that will hopefully mean that when you guys are asking for very specific things for me to review or me to compare, that should become easier hopefully in the future, and I'll tell you what that's going to look like when it's all finished off and everything's in place. But hopefully if we can get this sorted out, it'll mean I'll be a little bit more reactive to what you ask and be able to deal with certain things. There are certain products like the 300mm f4 that people want me to review, the 400mm 5.6, that are so old that that's going to have to wait until I can afford to buy them physically and have a copy of it. But we might be able to work out some other things for some newer equipment that I can just do a review on and go from there. So definitely worth subscribing to the channel. It could be some very exciting times if we can get this sorted, and we can definitely grow this channel massively with doing stuff like that. I'm also going to be doing, it's probably going to be a monthly video, maybe on a Saturday, maybe I'll do it as a Sunday video. That is going to be more of like a story-based adventure type thing, where I go out and give you almost behind the scenes of how I get certain photos. Like I've just come back and got photos of kingfishers, so there'll be a behind the scenes of how that happened, the environment, everything like that, a video potentially coming from there. Or when I go out and shoot owl photos and stuff like that, just so you get a better idea of the kit I'm taking, how I'm using it, the environments I'm shooting in, and gives a bit of a story of what being a photographer is kind of about, especially with wildlife photography. And that will also be as well when I go and photo sporting events and stuff like that as well, which I plan to do in the summer. So if you like the sound of all that, there's a lot of news to take in. It's a very long video already, so I do apologise for extending it out even further, but there is a lot of exciting things that are potentially going to be coming to the channel, which make it worth subscribing and going from there. But as usual, if you have anything you specifically want to be reviewed, you want me to add as a note, leave it in the comments down below. I have a notepad with everything that people request, so I know how to prioritize what the next video is going to look like. For example, someone wants me to do videos on the R10, so after this video the camera is being changed for the R3, so I can use the R10 for footage. So the quality of image of the video should actually go up slightly, because you'll have the R3 doing the filming for a little bit rather than the R10. But doing videos on the R10, showing you what they're like with the converted lenses and all that sort of thing, for people who are trying to get into sort of wildlife photography at a bit more of a budget but still want to go mirrorless. So if you like the sound of those videos, hit subscribe now. They will be coming soon. As always, thank you always for your support. I couldn't do the channel without you guys liking, subscribing and commenting like you do. And if you are really excited about what's going on, I'll see you in the next one. Catch you later and goodbye.